All right, welcome to a episode of the Diplomats where me as Gorehorns Go and my partner in crime, Umble the Heap, talk about our Boston Massacre virtual tournament that occurred June 20th all over the world, but primarily, actually, all through the Discord server with people playing from all over the world. Umble, another very good result for you. Fourth for you, and I didn't do so bad myself on this one.
No, you got ninth place, and this was over. I think we were right at 59 players, I think was what the number was. And so, you were able to play both rounds, and I think really showed that you are good in this format, and you had a very good ending. Now, I was great. I saw that, but I really don't know anything about how your games went. So I'm looking forward to kind of hearing.
So we're going to sort of start with my game, but I think we should talk about the tournament. This is really the second virtual tournament. This one was done over Discord. I thought the Discord format was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Umbo, what did you think?
Yeah, early on, WebEx was good for sure, but in the discussion with people kind of that were a part of all figuring out this process, I know that behind the scenes, I definitely said I thought Discord would be a good idea, mainly because that's where so many of the online diplomacy players now do hang out. There's close to 3,000 diplomacy players on Discord, and the audio function's pretty easy to use. You just pop into rooms. And so it's kind of interesting. The face-to-face community has they've been testing out different ways to do this. Like the first one was just using straight backstabber with just writing the in backstabber. And that was okay, but it wasn't good for a fast format. So then they moved to WebEx, which was primarily chat, how people communicated. And then this one was all audio. And I think it did a pretty good job approximating face-to-face. And in a lot of ways, you were able to, you didn't just have to talk with them voice. Like sometimes I know I would be talking with one person, but I could still in the background text somebody, chat with them, and we could continue the discussion on different things. So you could still kind of juggle and do some more diplomacy even while you were talking with people. So I thought it was a great format. And in my opinion, I think we've kind of found what's going to work going forward.
I did fine over the audio. I loved it. You're right. The last time with WebEx, it delved into a lot of chatting because some people weren't using the technology. I think I told you Eddie Brisson only wanted to talk on the phone. I mean, it was almost like a little secret code on how to talk to everyone. This was easy. We were all using the same format. But there were a couple of times when I think I would have liked a video room or something just so I could look at the other person in the eye a bit. You really have to, be good.
I get what you're saying, but I think the one thing I think that's good about doing it audio initially is I think it's kind of a good middle ground between online players who a lot of times they value their anonymity and face-to-face, right? And we saw in this tournament a lot of online only players try out this tournament for the first time.
We did, for sure.
And get some good results,
The other thing, unlike the WebEx format for DixieCon last month, when people were talking, all you knew is that someone you wanted to talk to, like if you're Turkey, you want to talk to Austria. All you know is that Austria is occupied, but you don't know who Austria is occupied with when you're reaching out to Austria. Here, you knew exactly where everybody was, all powers were, and who they were talking to. And that could be used to good effect and bad effect. I managed that. I realized that people were going to be paranoid about it, and I tried to create paranoia about that at times.
Well, that's where the chat function was helpful because you could continue to talk with the person that you didn't want people to know you were talking with. We did do a lot of talking at points, and we would be able to talk with other people and kind of prioritize influencing the board while also staying on the same page. So I like that too, because what's important for this virtual tournaments is, well, yes, you want to approximate some things. You also want to make it unique, right? And I think Discord is helping. It brings kind of a unique way to negotiate, and I really liked it.
I really liked it too, and I think that there's
see more and more of these tournaments because they're popular. By the way, the people who did the work on this deserve so much credit. The people who GM for free, it was live cast by people, which I can't even believe that there was that much interest. But I think it's really good for the hobby. And as a participant, I wanted to thank everybody for running such a great tournament. I just enjoyed it tremendously.
Yeah, let me add that too. Like, what people are doing right now is they're laying the foundation for what I think will be a really great thing in the hobby 10 years from now. And so, you're maybe, well, we're going to see things grow. I really believe if the people involved in this have patience and we continue to all work together on this, I think this is going to end up being a great thing for the hobby at large. And we're off to a good start.
All right, so in my first game, Humble, I think I told you before the game
I was going to draw Germany. And in fact, I drew Germany, and it's because I haven't played Germany in a long time. So I just felt like law of averages would tell me I was going to be Germany. And I'm going to tell you my only real pre-tournament prep for all our listeners was to go back to our season 4 preview podcast and listen to your thoughts on opening strategy for all the different players. And I went and listened to all your thoughts on Germany, put them in my head, and then saw if any of them could be applied in the game at hand. So if anyone is thinking about opening strategy, that video has gotten a lot of views, the preview to season 4. I think it's because you talk a lot about opening strategy. So I knew going in, not that I wouldn't have known this already, that I needed to have France or England as an ally. And both seemed totally willing to work with me. And I didn't feel that either one was lying to me.
Okay. So here's a question. How much did you have to play with Italy going to Piedmont?
Okay, a lot actually, but in hindsight, maybe that wasn't the best idea.
Here's what happened.
The person who played France, her name's Melinda, and I had heard on the live stream David Hood, the runner of DixieCon, say Melinda is an avid player of diplomacy and has maybe played more live games of diplomacy than anyone in the world, including more than Eddie Brisson. And I didn't hear this at the time, but he said she looks for an ally. That's what she wants. And I could tell right away that she really wanted an ally. Not that she was desperate for an ally, but that she was, looking to click with somebody. I clicked with her, but I didn't want France getting too strong. On the other hand, England, he was saying all the right things, but he's very cautious, right? He didn't, you could tell he didn't want to really talk about going to the channel or doing anything. He's like, no, I just want to see it all play out. And I said,
okay, that's fine. So meanwhile, I go back to France and I'm like, hey, I got an idea.
Why don't you move to the channel? I'll move to Denmark. And then I'll move out of Denmark in the fall into the North Sea. And you give me Belgium.
And here's
two anyways.
Yeah, here's the great thing about it too. When you can get England or France to make that kind of commitment as Germany, both powers now are going to be trying to give you something, right? So that you ally with them. And it's such a great place at Germany if you can get that kind of commitment right out of the gate, because you're able to go to both of them and say, look, I want to ally with you, but this power is offering me this. What do you see? And so what's great is you're going to automatically come out in a stronger position. And you're now in a way you are going to be the leader, at least initially, on how this plays, and you kind of have your choice of an ally, and you can actually play them off each other to get the best position for you. So getting France to go to the English Channel, and at the same time getting Italy. The only thing about that, though, is getting Italy to move on France right away. If you're going against England, is going to make it harder.
Yeah, correct. That's what I didn't calculate, right? And in my head, I was trying to think, how can I maximize my options? Okay. But instead, I should have been thinking, I need France to be helping me with England. And she was the kind of player that would have done that. Instead, Italy gives me a call, or Italy reaches out to me, and all he wanted to know, we had talked about Tyrolia earlier with Austria, and had locked that down because I knew I was moving to Ruhr. And then Italy reaches out and said, I really want to move west. Is it safe for me to move west? And I just said, it's as safe as it's ever going to be. So he moved there. But what I didn't, go ahead.
That's not terrible for you. It's just if you're wanting to go with France, it's not helpful. But if you're going to go with England, it's not a bad thing. It's and maybe that's ends up being the choice then. I don't know how your game ends up, but now maybe you have a question but at the same time, it's, you're giving England a little bit of an opening. So you've got some really important decisions to make, not just in 1902, but really in 1901.
Yeah, so we'll see how they turned out, but really the most significant thing on the board is as Warsaw going to Galicia with no bounce. Okay. Because when we get to fall of 1901, I remembered, because I had just listened to it, this bouncing of Sweden idea that you had talked about in your.
You were saying, you got to negotiate and tell Russia that if he wants Sweden, he can't move into Galicia. And so, I'm like, crap, he's already there. So I'm like, all right, so what can I negotiate? And then I was like, well, I know I'm going, I really wanted to go to the North Sea. I really thought that would be, the right thing to do. And I maybe should have, I don't know if that was in retrospect, because Russia just said, what do you want? And I said, if you don't mess with me, I won't bounce you in Sweden. I don't want any problems in the North. He's like, cool. But I'm not really, because of the tournament format, I'm still learning. I'm so concentrated on what's happening on my side of the board. I didn't have effective time to figure out that an RT was going on. Okay. Big time.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I got worried with Piedmont, and Italy told me he was moving to Marseille, and I told Melinda to bounce it. She would not do it. She just took a guess, a dangerous guess. I think you always have to probably move back to Marseille in that situation.
So let me just tell you, like, when it comes to the face-to-face community, I feel like there's a general sense that I am not going to bounce in Marseille. If he gets in there, that's fine, but I'm just going to build the army, and I will take it back.
Yeah. So
face-to-face community I'm not doing it. Did you catch what I said?
Yes, I did. I heard you fine, loud and clear. Yeah. So that's what happened. Okay. Now, this was really my first sort of chance to talk to Russia. Austria had told me, when I had asked Austria about Galicia, said they had arranged a DMZ, not a bounce, in spring 1901, and that Russia totally lied and lied glibly. When I talked to Russia, he was Portuguese. He was his name was Andre. He seemed very logical to me, and I didn't really have anything to hold against him. But what's going on here is is the RT, and it's going to come into play sort of big time, and it gets rolling really fast.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. So I remember from Dixie, and you were talking about the guy in England having a French accent. Do you kind of have like a weakness for accents? Like you just naturally kind of feel a little trusting?
If you're a lady with a French accent, the answer is yes. But no, I didn't. I mean, it was just when I talked to Russia, it was all business. But when I talked to England or France, I'm looking for a connection on a personal level. Okay, that is what I'm all about. And I got the warm and fuzzies for both of them. I could have picked both of them at this time. I don't think, even at this point, yeah.
Yeah, so my question is this. So personally, I would have wanted to wait till 1902 to make that decision, and I would have just said, look, if you want me to go against England, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to need to build a fleet. I will maybe you even make a deal for 2 fleets. But you say, I'm going to get Belgium. You give the same thing to England. And just I would say to both of them, whoever supports me in, and the person that doesn't, if someone moves to Belgium, then and bounces me, I'll be working with the other person, and the person that supports me in, I'm going to do it. And you get your 3 builds, and because they're already fighting each other, what happens is you're going to then be able to make the choice on actually what you build. And I think it would have been better to wait and actually get your 3 builds, especially with what Russia was doing. And if you were leaning towards England, which personally,
You like an EG.
As England, I actually prefer to go with France. Now, it always kind of depends on board dynamics, but if I saw Russia and Galicia, I would always bounce Sweden personally. I feel like that's way too powerful right from fall 1901. Now, I shouldn't say always. If I felt like there was an EF coming against me, I'm not bouncing Russia. I'm not going to have 3 people trying to kill me. But if I feel like I have my choice, I'm definitely bouncing Sweden. I'm going to say, look, I'm not against you, but I didn't feel like this turn, because he's going to build you can show me, but I'm guessing he's building in St. Petersburg. Now, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you're wrong, because I negotiated that if I let him into Sweden.
Okay, well, good for you, because that's the other thing you want to negotiate. Okay, I'll put you in Sweden, but this isn't what I want to see. If you can get it, that's what you want to do. So that's good, but of course, there's still 2 builds. I would have still bounced it, because that Galicia, getting Galicia already, what he's kind of looking at, unless Austria's telling you something different.
And he wasn't, and I didn't even listen to Babo's interview. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it yet, but the last thing he said to everybody was, Germany needs a strong Austria to survive, right? And of course, with Russia right in Galicia, I didn't put that into play. Wow.
I would put it this way. Austria needs to survive. Germany doesn't want a strong Austria, because after things clear up there, Austria's natural progression is to hit and grab some dots from Munich and Berlin and all that. So I would say you want Austria not to die. I'm not really pushing for a strong Austria. I just want Austria to live.
All right. So I'm sort of at this point committed to the attack on England. I build the fleet.
Right.
And partially because she has to build an army in Paris, right? She doesn't get a fleet build in Brest because she didn't, because she lost Marseille. So we're off I'm already not in as strong a position as I would like, but here she's setting up the Marseille, getting back, but then notice this move into Silesia and the Baltic.
Yeah.
And then I lose the North Sea, so I got to retreat to Skagerrak. So it's not looking great right off the bat. But on the other hand, we'll see how it turns out for me. This sort of begins this giant, like, little dance tactically, which goes on for a long time. I take Sweden. I sacrifice Berlin for it because I know Berlin's gone. He's got Berlin. So I'm already down Berlin in fall 1902. This is not feeling good. We arranged a bounce in Belgium. because we're worried about the
Okay.
North Sea fleet.
Question. Why? Oh, okay. I never mind. I see what's going on. Okay. By the way, you can see why France didn't bounce, because the general thought process is I'm going to go all in and take it back anyway. And so and I think it's generally the wise thing, because it's like, if you're going to do that, that's fine, but I know exactly what I'll be doing, and you're not going to actually benefit long term. So to me, this play by Italy is not a play by someone who's experienced playing Italy, because it's just generally the only way you go to Marseille is if you got German buy-in and England buy-in to split them up. And
So
it looks like England, he might have worked it out with England, but he definitely didn't work it out completely, I guess, with you, because maybe that was his thought. England had sold him on the move set. Maybe that's why he did it. But it's still, to me, I don't know. I feel like there was maybe, I don't know. If you led him that way and that was going to help you, then I mean, that's good.
Well,
but I think
I
probably should have gone with England.
Yeah, I think I at this point I probably should have turned, right, but I didn't turn here. Italy is committing at this point because he thinks Austria is going to be okay with tying up Turkey, and he thinks Russia's on his side, and Russia's just going to go after me, and so that's kind of their play, which is Turkey and Austria, or Italy thought Turkey and Austria just sort of fight it out. Italy could go west, and Russia would go west towards me. I didn't have anything to do with that Italian move. In fact, I really wanted France to do better at this point, because I needed. Now I've got Italy and Russia.
Right.
Sorry, I've got England and Russia against me. So this isn't like, an optimal start, but I wangle my way out of it a bit. As you can see here, I don't get any builds, and I'm at 5, but I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not a strong Germany, but look at the fleet. Now we got a fleet build in the South Coast, okay? And at this point, I'm like, crap, because England's in better position. France here builds. And this fleet in Kiel that I built originally to, go after England is now going to be used against Russia. But man, I really wish I had an army there, to tell you the truth, or I wish but we'll see how it goes.
Well, yeah, you go ahead and explain it. I don't have a lot to say.
All right, so that's when we get to spring 1903 here, and I really sell England on the RT, which is how I get him to move north, and I get France on the same boat, and I'm helped out by a lot of things here. One is I guessed an RT, and then that happens when, for sure, I mean, it was obvious to me when Warsaw gets into Galicia, and you can see here now Italy has to come back and suspect something is up with Austria. So I get France to move west, and I get England to move north. I probably should have taken Berlin here, but I thought Baltimore might support Berlin. I don't know what I was thinking at the time, to be honest with you. But anyways, I was pretty happy with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which leads to the fall, which I get more of the same, and I'm really happy about this. I do the mutual bounce because I need a build. I get Berlin back. I don't convoy Russia back to. I mean, Russia convoys back to Livonia, but England takes St. Petersburg. Got an army there. Is totally committed against Russia. France is totally committed now in the south, and I feel like I'm in good spot. What are your thoughts?
Well, yes, kind of, because you've got kind of a tough decision. Like, what is next? I mean, the straightforward thing, I guess, is try to get Warsaw and then make a turn. But it feels like this. Well, the nice thing is this is a ranking-based score, right? So you just got to outgrow the others by a little bit. And to me, my guess is if you're going to outgrow this, you're probably going to have to stab France if you're going to top this board.
Okay, I didn't do that.
Okay.
So I built a fleet, and this sort of haunts me. I do this because I've got to go against Russia here. I was sort of stunned. Okay.
So this is bad because England's going to look at that and say 3 fleets, really?
And I said, I have to do that because I don't think he's going to disband Romania because there's an RT going.
It doesn't matter. England's going to say, we're going to figure this out. England can't. If I'm England, which I love playing England, so if I'm England and I see a 3rd fleet, there's no way that I'm going to hang out there. I'm going to be attacking Germany.
Well, here I'm thinking.
Okay. I was waiting for France to do that. I was going to mention, with the way they're moving their fleets, I'm waiting for. Now, personally, you know me, I like the Mid-Atlantic, North Atlantic pool more than the England. Yeah, I prefer that. I think it's safer. But and the other thing too is he's got something in Spain, right? So he can't convoy right away. So if he would have done. Now, his thought may have been, I don't want to let him into English Channel. So that's probably his thought process. Yeah,
well,
I guess that's what you got to do.
The thing was that she was going to move into the Irish Sea, let me go to Belgium, and then convoy me into Liverpool.
Interesting. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
And so that was sort of the idea there. I knew Russia would commit. England was still going to commit. I knew that Russia would. I didn't know, but I suspected Russia would make a play for Sweden, which as you can see, I prioritized the Gulf of Bothnia over, because in my head I'm like, oh well, I think I might be able to be okay if that happens, if I get Liverpool or keep Belgium, and I can figure out what to do there.
Support Sweden. Why didn't you support Sweden from Denmark and support into? I mean, the way I would have done this, just personally.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't mind.
If the way I would have done this at this moment, like that Livonia is going to be covering Moscow. I would have told England, look, you have into. We will make sure that we get that. In fact, I would have probably, with Kiel, prioritized supporting that and taking the Baltic Sea with your 3 fleets now. So, because then you can shift over to take Norway with your Sweden fleet once things are kind of set. I would have definitely supported Sweden and then tried to kick that Russian fleet, because then you've got 3 units that can support Sweden, and you're going to be able to hold that. So, yeah, I would have supported Sweden to Baltic and probably Kiel to Baltic Kiel support Berlin to Baltic also, most likely. But I definitely wouldn't have left it open.
I think that was a critically correct answer, because if England would have seen me take Belgium, may not have originally thought about the convoy, right? But instead he saw the fleet go to Holland. And I already have been in the North Sea. So he's very suspicious at this point.
You tipped your hand, right? You tipped your hand. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I still could have done that in the fall. And if I had been in Belgium, I could say, look, I already moved against France. Let's work together here against Russia. I did not. And basically, at this point forward, I lost England. The other problem I had with England was, unlike France, I knew exactly what France was going to do every single time. Okay, we totally were collaborating. You can see here France is moving into Tyrolia. I'm not worried about that. I'm moving into Silesia. I am trying to, set up a play there. But England was the kind of person who, anytime you talk to him, would be always like, I'll think about that. right? And he wouldn't tell me exactly what he was going to do. I couldn't guarantee that he was going to write down any order for sure. I would just try and make a case to him, and I would hope he would do it. Does that make sense? It's harder to work with somebody like that.
Correct. Yeah. It's like you're not going to get an ally saying, I'll think about that. That's you've got to be as open as you can, and you want to be trying to give people reasons to ally with you. You're right. Yeah. You're always going to choose the person that talks with you plainly and that you see you can trust over the person that's guarded, because you're introducing this I don't trust you into it. And it's one thing if you're fighting somebody and you don't want to lie to them because you're continuing to fight them and say, look, I'll think about it. It's another thing if you're trying to work with somebody because it's not going to build a good alliance.
Meanwhile, I'm talking to Russia at all points. I'm not one of these people who doesn't talk to people who's fighting them.
Right.
I'll try and talk to everybody. And my pitch to Russia is, look at how open you are. You're putting a ton of trust in Turkey, okay? Whereas, what can I really do to you? All right, you're leaving your backside open. You are potentially giving Turkey a solo here for your game to fight me when I have otherwise targets that I'm looking after. I don't understand the gameplay. And Russia, who ended up finishing 5th in the tournament overall, because I played him in game 2, which we can talk about later, he's just like, I don't think he's going to turn. I don't think he's going to turn. And so I'll fast forward a bit to really what is the, sort of I take Sweden back, all right, which I knew I would.
Yeah.
I let her take Liverpool because obviously with the North Sea Fleet tied up there, that convoy, I could have gotten in, but we were worried about defending. And so
why did she convoy you to Liverpool? It doesn't matter. You got Belgium. So
Wales, with the idea, and I told her, I said, hey, I assumed he was going to move to Wales, so I figured it would be a bounce, and I would keep Belgium, right? So I was happy to have my army still there, if you want to know the truth. So I wasn't.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's probably better. Well, the only thing is, with you having an army in Belgium, it kind of, like as France, you got to be slightly uneasy that you're going to get a build and you've got an army there, because I think it's probably safer for France to put that army into Liverpool than it is to let it be in Belgium. But I don't know. I mean, if she trusts you completely, it's not terrible.
She trusted me completely. She shouldn't have trusted me completely, but I should have trusted her completely. I knew she would never go back on me. She wasn't going to be that kind of person. So I always had that in my back pocket, I thought. Meanwhile, I went to Galicia because I didn't want to bounce in Warsaw, and I figure I might be able to help, Turkey encourage the stab, or help Austria against Turkey, or somebody to mess.
This is the point where you got to start watching Turkey. So
I do that. I'm like, so I'm really happy with this season. I'm at 7. I'm on top of the board. I build an army. Things are looking good, and this is where it all goes south for me, Humble, because I knew I was going to get dislodged from Sweden, which I didn't mind at that point. But as you can see, I didn't even defend it. But my internet went down, and I could not get it back up in time to order a retreat. So it auto disbanded in the spring season my fleet. And ever since, that was a technical error. Ever since that time, this is devastatingly bad for me. Okay, I mean, I help Austria here, but
did you try to get a GM to change? Because the GM could wind that back. They're going to know that the disband was not what you wanted.
No, I didn't. I didn't even know that was an option. I'm being just,
Yeah.
No. And when I got back, it was already,
So what I did in the first game? Yeah. So in the first game, just to mention on that, like it was like 15. Normally they give you like 25 minutes or so for the first year. It was like 15 minutes, and it was like 2 or 3 minutes left, and I like rallied everybody to ask the GM to give us 10 more minutes because there was still so much to talk about. So they reset it and gave us more time for the spring and the fall.
Oh, well, I see. I didn't even know that was an option, but this is a killer for me, okay? Because now I can't. I mean, and from this point on, it's really a matter of time. So I'm going to scroll through here, but my hope here, right? Even losing Galicia, or Galatia, whatever, however it's pronounced, is okay. Maybe by forcing Russia to have to move units back, that'll relieve a little pressure on the north, and maybe Russia. I can say, hey, Russia, let's be back friends now. You go against Turkey. Turkey's, doing really well here because, as you can see, Turkey got Austria and Italy fighting. Meanwhile, France is in Venice. Italy's working with us, and so all Austria is really down to. I help Austria out for a bit, but it's got that isolated unit in Tunis.
This board is a mess.
Well, it gets messier, which you don't want to see. I'll scroll through quickly because it's not all about me. I know Denmark's lost, so I take St. Petersburg. Guess right on somewhere. England gets Liverpool back, which isn't a lot of fun, and it just sort of keeps getting progressively worse for me. I built another fleet because I'm like, Russia's killing me with fleets. England's killing me with fleets. I have units out of position now for, a giant amount of time. I get Warsaw, which is good. I'm going to keep St. Petersburg. So, I mean, at this point, I play a tactical, essential defensive game. At every point, I'm either switching off. As you can see here, I take Edinburgh but lose Kiel. Russia's totally committed in the fight, takes Warsaw. Meanwhile, I get Sweden back. I mean, I'm just trying to keep dots here, okay? And if you look at my number, I'm okay. But I got a little, excited here when I looked at the map that Russia got into Romania, but then I realized Bulgaria was still Russian territory. So there's still a lot of trust between them in 2006. And I can't break them up. And my entire idea here is I got to sort of hang on until RT start fighting so I can rally Russia, who's very vulnerable. Look at this spot for Turkey, okay? Turkey, experienced player, apparently used to run this tournament live wide, and I thought Turkey's got to go for the solo. This seems like a good chance now. Is he going to turn? But no, it never happens. They continue to work together. I have to play this escape hatch. You can see Livonia going to St. Petersburg now. It's an endless shifting of armies and territories and tactical.
What was Turkey's actual name?
Couldn't tell you. Bob,
okay.
I think.
Well, while you're doing it, I'll figure it out. But go ahead. Keep
going. Super nice guy. He's kind of one of these guys like I'm doing what I'm doing. Like Turkey was never not in this table talk room, which is like the group room. He was, he was barely talking to Russia. So this game goes on and on and on. And it is at this point that, I don't have enough units to cover all the territory that I've got problems with. And so I'm worried about England. I'm worried about Russia. But I'm tying these people up for as long as I sort of can. I've got to disband here. Feel like I have to disband Ruhr because I don't think France is going to do anything to me. So, we just keep playing forward.
Oh, okay. It's Alan. Yeah. Alan Levin. Yeah. He organizes tournaments for the Boston group. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, here is not so bad. I get the North Sea back. I get Berlin back, but I can't build. So, that's bad. But eventually I get Kiel back. But look at the position Russia's getting in the north now, right? It's
Yep.
brutal. And I just play this game sort of forever. And it's at this point here soon enough that, like, RT is not going away. England is down to 1 unit, disbands his army, and leaves the fleet in the Baltic. And, you know, here we go, sort of, you know.
Man, if I was you, like, yeah, you weren't coming out of this. You might as well just have pushed for a draw.
Well, yeah, but the problem is that I couldn't convince him. So this is the plan I came up with, which you will see as I scroll through this game here. Right here is when I do it, I think. No, still playing, but I kept pushing for a draw, but I wanted to be fourth, right? I mean, you know, because we still got Austria alive, and you still got Italy alive, and you still got England alive.
But that doesn't matter in a ranking system.
I thought it mattered where you drew, right?
No, nope. It just matters how many centers. Everybody's going to be getting, you know, the last player is getting 1,000, then second, you know, gets 2,000 and so forth. It doesn't matter to eliminate people.
You get well, hold on. I thought the power of fourth place would get whatever 1,000 plus how many centers they have.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, but I mean, you still get more overall points being fourth than fifth or sixth or seventh.
Well, yeah. Well, you get like 1 point per center. So
yeah. So I want to keep as many centers as I have, but you got to fourth would be better than anything else, right?
Right.
I mean, I couldn't make 1, 2, or 3. So here is how I forced the draw, basically. I have Holland convoyed to Edinburgh, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I just tell Russia, Turkey, I go, that's it. Okay, what are you guys going to do? Because I'm going to guarantee that, you know, you're not going to eliminate me or France without one of you soloing and risking all the points, period. That's the gamble. So you know, and so right now you have a choice to make, which is solo or draw. And they heard me, but they weren't listening. And then eventually they listened, and I got Russia. They started getting paranoid with each other just a tad, as you can see after that. And I kept moving to my 2 centers. If you look here, we've got 7 powers. I'm technically fourth. And then we decided to draw right here. So I got fourth in a draw with 3 centers.
Yeah.
So that was game 1 for me, which was because of my internet connection problem. I think I would have done better, but I think you pointed out some things I could have done to have attained a better result. But RT was very strong in this game.
Well, tactically, so this is my opinion. So I can't speak diplomatically on your Russia being in Galatia in spring 1901, Italy being willing to move on France. That to me was more than enough reason to bounce Sweden and just go all in on France and then see what happens next. Because you could probably play Russia eventually off England on the long term, especially if England's sending units against them. That now gives you options. England becomes the bigger threat. I think on a tactical level, that was the way to go, because by attacking England, you gave Russia the opening. You know, you gave him the opening he needed. So that's my opinion. I don't know the person.
I take that openly. You know, it was a very frustrating game for me to play, you know, 7 hours for a draw, right. A really crappy draw, and to have a convoy into England to force them to do it.
Yeah.